Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Text 13, Translation and Commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Kandam, Adhyayam 6, Slokam 13.
Tasyanugunan shlokan gayanti Aho bhuva sapta samudravatya Dvipeshu varsheshvadhi punyametat Gayanti yatratya jana murare Karamani bhadranyavataravati. Translation. Learned scholars chant about the transcendental qualities of Lord Rishabhdev in this way. Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharatavarsha is considered the most pious. People of Bharatavarsha are accustomed to glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His incarnations as Lord Rishabhdev and others. All these activities are very auspicious for the welfare of humanity. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bharata bhumite hoilo manusya janmaja Janma shartha kari karo para upaka. As stated in this verse, Bharatavarsha is a most pious land. The followers of Vedic literature understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His different incarnations, and they are privileged to glorify the Lord by following the directions of Vedic literature. After realizing the glories of human life, such people should take up the mission to spread the importance of human life throughout the whole world. This is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The word adhipunyam indicates that there are certainly many other pious men throughout the world, but the people of Bharatavarsha are even more pious. Therefore they are fit to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world for the benefit of all human society. Srila Madhvacharya also recognizes the land of Bharatavarsha. Visheshad Bharate Punyam. Throughout the world there is no question of Bhagavad-bhakti or devotional service, but the people of Bharatavarsha can easily understand the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, every inhabitant of Bharatavarsha can perfect his life by discharging Bhagavad-bhakti and then preaching this cult throughout the world for the benefit of everyone. Every jiva is, by constitution, an eternal servant of Krishna. Jiveswarup hoy Krishna nityadas. Krishna Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakash. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defined the position of the jiva as the eternal servant of Krishna, as the marginal potency of Krishna, who manifests as the same as Krishna and simultaneously different from Krishna. But in the material world, forgetting Krishna, jivas take different bodily forms, or rather they are awarded or given different bodily forms according to their they're given different bodily forms. Karmana daiva netrena jantur deho papataye according to one's activities, one is awarded a particular type of body under the direction of the Supreme Lord and his cosmic representatives. And jivas with similar karmic reactions and similar type of consciousness, they get grouped together, they get born together. So humans who are in dog-like consciousness, they get born as dogs. And all dogs have a kind of doggish mentality. It's not just the bodily form, but there's a whole mentality that goes with it. There are even different breeds of dogs which humans have bred together, different kinds of dogs. And so you find some dogs like the poodle is a very timid kind of dog, whereas the what's that very dangerous dog that kills? Doberman Pinscher is extremely aggressive, sometimes kills human beings without any reason, without being provoked. Again, we are from dog culture, so we are well versed in dogology. Is it? It's called kinology. Mr. Facts and Figures sitting here. Hey, you know an English word I don't know. I'm ashamed. Why was it that word? Kinology, because they think that the dog is their kin. Kin means family. Is it? Yeah. Anyway, this is some punning here. Yeah, within human society also, people get born in certain families according to their consciousness. Just like Krishna mentions in Bhagavad-gita, Shrutimal Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Bhijayate. One who is fallen, or one who falls from the path of yoga, when he eventually gets born in a human family on earth, he gets born in a family of learned brahmanas or wealthy, usually, or a wealthy family. Similarly, one who is of very sinful mentality, when they get to the human form of life, they take birth in a lower caste or in an outcast. If any of you are from a higher caste and are feeling a little puffed up hearing this, or if you're from a lower caste or non-caste and are feeling depressed on hearing this, there's comfort for us all. Kalo Shudra Sambhavaha. In Kali Yuga, everyone is born as Shudras. In the Satya Yuga, there's one caste, everyone is Hamsa, everyone is highly spiritually elevated. In Kali Yuga, there's one also, everyone is a Shudra. Yeah, so outside of India also we see different mentalities in different peoples, according to their culture, or modern scientists might say according to their genetic background. For instance, we would expect an Italian to be like an Italian, and culturally quite different from, for instance, a Swede or a Swedish person. The Italians are probably the most flamboyant kind of people in Europe, and the Swedes about the most withdrawn. Flamboyant means they talk like this and use lots of hand gestures and get excited very easily. And Swedes are poker face. No, they smile also, but there's not much behind the smile. The special feature of, well, you can see that also. There's difference between, for instance, in general, we can say there's difference between Bengalis and Tamils. Tamils are superior, right? That's the general opinion here. Don't say that in Bengal. Anyway, the special feature of birth in India is that it is conducive for developing spiritual consciousness. Here it's mentioned Bharatavarsha and specified as a whole earthly sphere. Nowadays, Bharata means from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, India is one. That's one of the slogans that Indira Gandhi had painted up all over India. Although previously, under British rule, it was more like from Peshawar to Chittagong also. But now those areas have gone out. Now they're part of Pakistan and Bangladesh. And prior to that, there was an even much larger area. There's so many stans. Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Tatarstan, Baluchistan, well that's part of Pakistan. So Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. Then to the east there's also Brahmadesh, which became known as Burma, and Shamadesh, which became known as Siam, and now Thailand. And then Malaya is also mentioned in the Bhagavatam, Malayasyeva Chandanam. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he'd been to Malaya and seen that they don't grow chandan anymore. Now it's all rubber trees. And taking our geographical tour a little bit further south, Singapore, which is a fully Indian name, Singha, lion, Pura, city. Yeah, they call it in English in the tourist brochures, Lion City. Then we have Indonesia, the islands of India, which despite having been converted to Islam a few hundred years ago, still has very strong, what we would call Hindu culture. For instance, the national airline of Indonesia is called Garuda Airways. And we find that throughout Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, the culture of Rama, the story of Ramayana is well known and is narrated. That there are editions of Ramayana in their local languages, which is very much central to their traditional culture. So this land, which is centered in centered in the area we are presently in, is the most pious land. Manu says that the people of Aryavarta, which is the land between the Ganga and the Yamuna, is it? Or just north of the Ganga. That is the most pious land. They're the most pious people. And Naimisharanya is said to be the hub of the universe, or the center of the universe. So this land in particular is very pious. What does that mean? Well, this land is particularly meant for spiritual cultivation. And therefore, people who are already advanced in a previous life in spiritual cultivation, they take birth in this land. If one has developed a consciousness by which he is suitable to be an Italian in this life, he'll take birth in Italy. If one has acquired consciousness in previous lives by which he is suitable for, his consciousness is favorable, open to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he will take birth in this land. And therefore the Supreme Lord in his various avatars appears in this land. People sometimes think that, well, Hinduism, it's an Indian religion. And it appears to be ethnocentric, in other words, based on a certain racial group, in as much as it is based on India, and Krishna, Rama, Buddha, Vamana, Nrsimha, they're all said to have appeared in this land. But from the Shastric perspective, we understand that it's not a local cultural manifestation, but rather that the Supreme Lord Himself has arranged it like this. That He appears in this land because in this land people can better take advantage of His appearance. And therefore the holy rivers also appear in this land. Of course, it's not that the Indians are considered a chosen people in the way that the Jews consider themselves a chosen people. The Jews have the idea that God's on their side and He's against their enemies. But that's not the conception in Vedic culture. In Vedic culture it's understood that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna. Mamaivangsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha. But one who is born in this land has the particular opportunity to develop Krishna consciousness. That is generally speaking true, not in all cases. And that was not the case with Kamsa or Dantavakra, Shishupal, Duryodhana, Jarasandha and many others who were big demons who appeared in India. But even all these big demons just mentioned, they also got the chance to see Krishna, even though they blasphemed Krishna and tried to kill Him. In the modern age, we see also in India there are various demons who are against Krishna consciousness. We won't mention their names because although we have Krishna on our side, we don't want to have to call Krishna to get their henchmen off us from attacking us. But here in Tamil Nadu, as in some other states of India, not one or two other states of India, there are certain very demoniac people who hold political power. So not everyone in India is a devotee, and some are very demoniacally inclined, but in general the inclination is there to be a devotee, or at least to be inclined toward Vedic culture. In Vedic culture there are certain principles that even the non-devotees, the Mayavadis and the Karmakandis, they all hold, they all share. They all respect Mother Cow. They all respect the holy rivers. They respect the Guru. The Guru institution is there. And most of the followers of most schools, they also at least superficially respect Govinda. So we have Ganga, Guru, Gavi, Gau, and Govinda. But that is changing now, even among the Hindus who are supposed to be the followers of Vedic culture. In the name of progress, the Hindus, they don't care that the Ganga, Yamuna and other holy rivers are dammed and polluted, as sewage is pumped into them, chemical waste is pumped into them. An estimated 70 to 80,000 cows are killed daily in India. And not many people seem to care very much. Previously, if there was some tension between Muslims and Hindus, it was a common thing that the Muslims would kill a cow and throw it in the street, and that would precipitate a Hindu-Muslim riot. In India, I'm talking about. But nowadays, the Hindus are proudly opening slaughterhouses. The great Mera Bharat Mahan, it's the great glory of India that Asia's biggest slaughterhouse is in just outside Tundla, which is just outside Mathura Mandal. So by propaganda, by the demons, this culture is breaking down. The culture which was going on for thousands of years, practically we see the Ramayana, the culture there's millions of years, the culture that's described there was going on until recently in India. The family structure with respect for the parents, for the elder brother. We see that Ramchandra was just slightly older than his brothers, but they all respected him as good as their father. The style of dress. Just in the last few years, this has changed. The dress style, the family structure, the understanding inherent in Vedic culture that the need of separation between the sexes, this was a central point. Because men and women, when they associate closely, or even not very closely, the tendency, the lust, Kama Dev, the god of karma, desire, he enters, and this spoils the consciousness which is meant for spiritual realization. But the demons, kamam ashritya dushpuram, dambam, dambamana madanvitaha. The demons, they take shelter of lust. They think lust is great, it's wonderful. What the saintly people know is to be controlled and not promoted. The demons, they want to promote this. I remember Jayapataka Maharaj once narrated an incident. This was from many years ago when he was dealing closely with the local villages in Mayapur, overseeing the construction of buildings there. And he heard one of the local Muslim men, an elder, respected man, and he'd just been to Calcutta for the first time in his life. He said, "It's a horrible place, I'll never go there again. In the park I saw a young boy and girl sitting next to each other. Horrible!" That was unusual in the early 1970s, but much worse things are going on now. But that culture of separation was there. And so much, the culture is just perfectly designed to help people become Krishna conscious. And of course, Krishna himself is very prominent in Vedic culture. We find the art, the music, the temple, the architecture. Krishna is everywhere. Krishna or different forms of Vishnu or even demigods. So that people raised in such a culture, for them it seems very natural to take to Krishna consciousness. Maybe less so in areas like Tamil Nadu, where Vishnu worship has not been so prominent as worship of various demigods. But people in general, or many people, they accept that spiritual life is central. It's an essential part of their life. And thus, people they tend also to respect people who take to religious life seriously. So in many ways, the Indian culture is so much more conducive than in other places for spiritual realization. When we go to the West, it's a very clear difference between the atmosphere, how much less favorable it is for Krishna consciousness. I was talking about in the Western world how the culture of lust is promoted by the demons. But lust leads to bewilderment. Dhyato vishaya pungsam sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bijayate krodho bhavati sammohaha. By contemplating the objects of the senses, then attraction for them develops, from which strong desire to enjoy develops. Then comes krodha, which means anger, but as I understand that can also mean frustration. And then from frustration, the next stage is bewilderment. And from the Vedic, from the perspective of Vedic psychology, we can see that the predominant feature of the Western, or in the Western world, the mentality of people is bewilderment. There are so many books telling you how to get your act together, how to get your mind together, personality development and focus and all these things, because people, they don't know where their mind's at or where it should be at. And especially lust, when it's promoted, people just become more and more bewildered. And then they act against their own self-interest, even in the material sense, not to speak of the spiritual sense. For instance, a man, he takes a fancy to someone else's wife. He becomes attracted to her. If he could just think about it, he would understand that it would be very destructive for his own family life and for that of the woman. But even knowing that, impelled by lust, he proceeds to have an extramarital affair with her. The old system in India was very good for helping to control lust. Marriage at a young age, and not you don't get married via the internet. The parents, they arrange it. The parents arrange it, and the boy and girl, they see each other for the first time at the marriage. And they say, well, how can you have to love someone, otherwise how can you marry them? So they go through 25 boyfriends or girlfriends, and then they marry one who they think they love. But by that time, they're already completely bewildered, and they can't place their love in or attraction in one person, and the whole thing's a mess. And then they just go on. And the old system is you get married, and then you love them. And why do you love them? Because you're married to them. You got to love someone, so you marry and you love them, that's all. I saw once in Australia, I was in a marriage bureau. That's where people go and they put their name and say, I'd like to marry someone, I'd like to meet someone like me, of the opposite sex, and who I could be a good partner with. Nowadays it's all on the internet, but they used to have marriage bureaus for people who are nervous to approach a member of the opposite sex. Now you may wonder what I was doing in a marriage bureau. I hadn't taken sannyas at the time. I was distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. I came to a marriage bureau and I saw there these young women in there with all makeup and long nails with polish, looking like fangs, and they look like vampires. And this timid young man walks in, almost shaking. Oh boy, they really chewed him. It's almost like they sucked his blood. They could just see, they could just dominate him, and the way they treated him, it was like this, so condescending. Condescending means you look down on them and you speak down to them like that. I didn't stay there very long, but I could see the drama that was about to take place. And this man walks in all timid and shaking, and he just if he had any slight confidence, he lost it. In Australia also once there was, I was speaking to what we call a new bhakta. And after some time he said, I'm glad I got the chance to pick your brain. Can you translate that? Pick your brain? Yeah, it's a I guess you could say it's a colloquial or slangish expression, which means that you ask people and then you take information from them which is useful for you. It's like you're asking, but it's like an exploitive expression. You're getting the opportunity to take something for your advantage. I guess it's difficult to explain unless you're from that culture. Language and culture are intimately connected. Yeah. Anyway, it was disrespectful, and in India you wouldn't. The culture doesn't allow you to say such things. In English language, not all Western languages, but whether you're referring to the prime minister or your grandfather or a dog or a child, you say he or you if you're speaking to him. There's no distinction. Whereas in Indian languages there's up, tum, tu, all these. In Tamil you also have. There's no special respect. There's no particular respect given to anyone. Special respect is given to a football player. Yeah, actually, probably in England, the most respected people are the successful football players. The most respected, famous, and highly paid. And also the rock musicians. At least it was rock way back then. When I don't know what they have now. Something like that. Srila Prabhupada was aghast. You know what I mean? Surprised in a not very good way that people like John Lennon, who was a famous, he was very degraded in his personal habits, as were most rock musicians in those days. He was a famous singer, and people like the newspaper reporters would ask him his opinion about political matters, philosophical matters. What was his qualification? He plays a guitar and sings a song, and all of a sudden he's the Socrates' grandson or something. In America once I was visiting a community of devotees, and one of my old friends, my godbrother, he was taking interest. He had preached in some colleges, and one young man who was maybe 30 years younger than him had joined the community as a devotee. So I was talking to that young man who was about 20-something years old, and I said to him that this devotee, my godbrother, he's just like your father, isn't it? By age he was, and at least in India, where when an older person and a younger person like that, they come into some relationship, and it becomes like that. They'll say uncle, or the younger person respects the older person like their father. But when I suggested that to this young man, new bhakta, he became quite upset. He said, no, he's not my father. I don't think of him like my father. The idea they're all equal. Even though my godbrother, his name is Adikarta Prabhu, he's so much older, more experienced, wise, knowledgeable, in practically every facet of life, so much ahead of this young man, and able to offer so much to him, but because of this demoniac culture that this boy was raised in, he said, no, you're not my father, we're all equal. So, in so many ways we can see that even today the Indian culture is better than the Western culture. Last night up at the circle, the devotees, they went off on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra on Sankirtan. And I stayed behind as I have some pain in my ankles. So one middle-aged couple came up with their daughter and said hello. Did you know them at all? No. Their daughter was maybe 14 years old, something like that? About 14 years old. And dressed in the style of modern girls with a sweater and jeans. I couldn't understand what they're saying. You understood, they're speaking in Tamil. But anyway, she bowed down before me. So despite being a modern young girl, she had that much culture. Oh, that just reminds me, 2 weeks ago I was flying from Ahmedabad to Dubai, and his air hostess comes up to me. She knew me she'd seen me, I was in kami clothes, in jeans and a t-shirt, to be precise.
And
Clean. Because, after all, Dubai, the government has a little bit different idea. So anyway, she'd recognized me from, she was attending some program of our devotees in Dubai. She was a young woman from, after I spoke to her, her family's from Goa, though she was raised in Dubai. And right there in the plane, she offered obeisance. I was sitting in the aisle seat, and she... Well, namaskar come in like this, but she got right down on the floor. She could have lost her job for that. But anyway, she got away with it. And as I'm trying to represent Srila Prabhupada, she must have got a lot of benefit for doing that. So this culture is very valuable. Therefore, one of the things I'm attempting to do is to, among the Indians and among our devotees who are not Indian, to promote this culture which is so conducive to Krishna consciousness. It's very pleasing also. In the old culture, in the old culture means the culture that was going on until about 20 years ago. It's been going on for thousands of years. Children, first thing in the morning, after they're bathed and everything, they'll go before their parents and offer obeisance. And still, some do that. Not many. Not many are even raised like that. But I've seen in the... even among our devotees, some of them, actually from Iyer family, this Smarta, Tamil Smarta, Brahmin family, that even the sons, they themselves have grown-up sons and big position, plenty of money. Every morning they'll come to their parents and bow down. Full obeisance. In Punjab also, and Bengal, especially Bengal, Orissa, it's a very normal thing that when juniors come into the presence of a senior, they'll touch their feet. It may not have any relation, may just be an elderly person. They'll touch their feet. So this immediately creates a very affectionate relationship. Immediately the elder becomes inclined to bless the junior and to benefit them in all ways. And the juniors also learn the culture of selfless service to seniors, which electricity has spoiled a lot of that, actually. As it used to be common that the disciple, well, that was one of the duty, that in the hot summer night they'd fan the guru all night long. Actually, they'd have this kind of one also. This long one. It's the long fan on a rope. You pull like that. Have you ever seen that? Yeah. There was so much service to do, and everyone would be... it was just a normal thing that you do service. I saw so many times in Bangladesh. I just go someplace, and the kids, 5 years old, they're already trained. You don't have to tell them. They hit the ground, offer obeisances. Then you come in after a long, hot journey to some village, and the father tells the little boy, maybe 6, 7 years old, go get some coconuts. Means coconut for drinking. They'll go up the tree. But in the modern culture, it's all be yourself. Just out for yourself. Make yourself a success. Forget your parents. Just, or if you're very kind, you can send them off to a Vrid ashram, an old folks' home, which is like the most miserable place in the universe. In the West, you see old people, they're just abandoned by the state runs old, what they call senior citizens' homes or something like that. They're just all sick and old and nothing to do, just watching TV all day, waiting to die. Their children don't care for them. They never visit them. They just want to know when they die so they can get whatever little inheritance they may have. Horrible, horrible culture. In the Vedic culture, the elders are respected because they have so much to offer. After a whole lifetime of themselves acting selflessly for their family, hearing sadhus, performing puja, they themselves become wise and spiritually full. But in the modern age, people go to school, that's the first thing which destroys the culture. And then all life they're watching TV. They have nothing valuable, they've not learned anything, their consciousness has not become uplifted, so they've got nothing to offer the young people. So often in India also, people join our movement. One reason they're looking for a family. So among devotees, we want to foster the spiritual family atmosphere. Everyone feels connected to everyone else with Krishna as the Supreme Father. Of course, you don't have to abandon your family. It's best if within the family everyone worships Krishna. And you can transform the mundane family to a spiritual family by putting Krishna at the center. But in traditional society, family is also part of a community. But urban life, it militates against not only family life but also community life. So within our movement we want to foster the, we say family spirit or community spirit, where elders are respected, and elders not just for age, but because they're seriously practicing, they have very valuable spiritual guidance to offer others, and everyone is trying to help everyone else. And newcomers, like children, if they have some discrepancies, that may be overlooked to some extent, if they're very new. After that, we should be very strict. If the father may be loved, but very strict also, doesn't tolerate nonsense in the children, because he wants to see them come out good. Of course, we don't want the family spirit among devotees to be... Among devotee families, we want to see that the family spirit is changed from material to spiritual. But we don't want, in the name of a spiritual family, to promote a material atmosphere, in which, for instance, elders they just expect respect just because they're older. They have nothing in particular to offer, they're just old, that's all. That's stated by Manu, that among the different varnas there are different qualities by which people are respected, such as learning, wealth, physical prowess, etc. Among the brahmanas, learning is the most important. If one is a very learned brahmana, but among the shudras, the only quality which they can see to respect in others is age. If someone's older, they respect them, that's all. So elders should be respected. But if that's the only criterion for respect, who is in age in Krishna consciousness also, who was initiated first? I was initiated 3 days before you. Remember that. 30 years ago, I was initiated 3 days before you. That goes on, I've seen this. So you want to convert among material families, the material family atmosphere to spiritual, but we don't want to make, in the name of a spiritual family, a mundane atmosphere. Just like you may look up to your elder godbrother or guru, just like a father. So that is nice. If you only think like that and don't think, well, actually I have to learn something and follow the instructions, then it becomes mundane. So anyway, I wanted to talk about how you're all fortunate to be born as humans in the land of India, and therefore you should all practice and preach. You have a very good opportunity. Yesterday, I read the verse that Lord Krishna states the human body is a suitable one for crossing over the ocean of material existence. It's a good ship for crossing the ocean of material existence. So the Indian ship, or the Made in India ship, is better for crossing this ocean, the ocean of material existence. Many times I've spoken on this. So, we'll finish there. Maharaj is supposed to come what time? Around 10:30. So you can all take prasadam and then greet him with kirtan. That would be very nice. I have another idea. This discussion on Brahmanas, Vedic Brahmanas, Vaishnava Brahmanas, we can do that tomorrow morning. I think most of the devotees will have left, and I'll just speak in English tomorrow morning about that. So if anyone wants to, I think that'd be more convenient for you and for Sabyasachi. So we can do that tomorrow morning, and maybe tomorrow afternoon also. We could probably go on discussing it all day and a few days. Make a book, that's the best thing, really. Thoroughly research the whole thing, make a book. Like that. Just like I don't speak about brahmacharya very much. I used to, but then I wrote the book, and then, you want to know about brahmacharya? Okay, take the book. That's it. So, that's all right. But you don't have to say that because it'll be, if any, you can translate anyone left over who doesn't understand English. Mostly, I think everyone's leaving, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. But if you want to stay, if you're interested in these technical points, you can stay and listen. Those who are born in Brahmana families, they might be more interested. Okay, how many sets of Bhagavatams distributed so far? 31. Wait a minute, don't clap. We want to sell some more. Keep your clapping. Clap means very, very well done. Thank you very much. There is more to do. Whoever knows for sure that all their friends and relations don't have a Bhagavatam set is an ideal candidate for taking a Bhagavatam set. If you're living separately from your parents, your sister, your brothers, and they don't have a Bhagavatam set, and you really want to show how much you love them, you should give them a Bhagavatam set. And if you really love yourself and you don't have a Bhagavatam set, you should definitely get one. Enlightened narcissism. Don't bother translating that. You can say enlightened ahankar. I love myself. Therefore I should get for myself a Bhagavatam set. Best wedding gift. Wedding season is going on now, right? It's over? No, it's not always. Well, in between they make the arrangements, right? They look on the internet and find someone beautiful to marry. So best wedding gift. Instead of giving them yet another mixie and then they have to take 10 of them back to the shop, you give them Bhagavatam set. No one else is going to give it to them. Taking a set. Very good. Thank you. There's another one. Hare Krishna. Wedding gift. Excellent wedding gift. And then they'll say, why did you give me that as a wedding gift? Then you explain to them. Pungsastriya mituni bhavametam tayaraho hridaya grantimaho ato griha kshetra sutapta vitaya janasya moho yamaham mameti. Or you can show the story of the pigeon and his family in the 11th canto. That's a nice one. You don't know that story, huh? Mm-hmm. Recommended reading. See, whatever's there in Sankshipta form, in the Bhagavad-gita, in concise form, is there in expanded form in Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, very good. Prahlad, yeah. Heavy book. This Prahlad Maharaj book, distributed, it's just a little pamphlet, but it's like an atom bomb. It's just like, it's so powerful and it's so piercingly true. No one who reads that can fail to recognize that it's absolutely correct. Also a leaflet in a different mood, also very good for mass distribution, is Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. These books, even the pamphlets, are very powerful. I know several people who became devotees by reading Life Comes from Life. It's just such a revolutionary message that when people read it, they know they've got to change their lives. We also still have copies here of Srinam Amrita for those who read English and who want to have a daily meditation to help improve their chanting. For those of you who have all of Prabhupada's books, there's also books of mine available here. If you have the full Bhagavatam set, a good follow-up is, that's it, the person Bhagavat. From reading this book, you can understand how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his whole being is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And even more so, Bhakti Siddhanta. People may read the Bhagavatam, but they will get Bhakti Siddhanta, or the understanding of what the Bhagavatam is all about, from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. There are also CDs of lecture. What CDs are available actually? There's Prabhupada's Kirtans. What else? Prabhupada's lectures? Okay, just tell them all. Yeah, fill up before you go. There's lectures with Tamil translations also. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! So that's probably my last lecture to most of you. Most of you will be leaving. So thank you very much for your patience in listening to me. And I pray that by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, you've all had some benefit from this. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So, another set? Very good. How many sets now have gone out? 6 sets now. That's 35 total? 37 total.